Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the stream. Happy New Year for everyone. I know it's been a while since I've done this. Finally found some free time. Um, so I think this is gonna be the new schedule. I think I'm going to try and do it over the weekends. And we're going to be continuing with the Suzuki book number 3. So we left off with Gavotte last time. So today we're going to be looking at Minuet number 3. So let us, as always, take a listen to how this piece goes. All right. All right. Everything's good. Sounds good. All right. Let's start. All right. Very nice. So, I don't know if you noticed, but we actually already played this piece before. In book number 2, the first page is actually what comes from book number 2. So, I don't think I'll go over too much on the first page, which is the major part. And then today, I think what I'm going to do is focus on the second page. So the second page here, let me just color code it as usual. So starting from here until here is what I would call the minor part, right? So the minor section is when we just change the keys to the minor. It's not. This is going into theory, and if you want to know more about theory, leave a like. You can also leave a comment asking about what kind of theory stuff you want to learn about. So here we are in the parallel minor of the key, right? So it goes from C major, and then now we're going to be playing in C minor. So first thing we need to take notice is the key change. So if we go back to the first page, you'll notice that we are in C major, meaning we don't have any sharps or flats. When we go to the minor section, we're going to have B flat, E flat, and A flat. So A flat is what's gonna give us the most trouble, I think. Mainly because we don't have the open A string. And if you play the open A string, it clashes with the accompaniment, and it doesn't sound good. So what we're going to do is, as usual, we're going to look phrase by phrase. So let's start the yellow phrase, the first yellow phrase here. And looks like they have different fingerings here. So I'm going to write the fingerings I have. Oh. Ignore the, well, yeah, I guess it's the bottom fingering, but I'm going to write it out like this just to make it easier, not to confuse anybody. I don't do the bottom fingering. All right. You know what? Let's actually go until this measure. So we're going to figure out some things. So in order to play E flat, the first E flat, we gotta find this D with the third finger. So it's gonna be like the half position, 1.5 position, I guess. So just half step down from first position, right? We're going to be looking at all the different positions all the way up to fourth position. So focus. So this is how we're going to find our 1.5 position. I'm just gonna call it that. So here, third finger is going to be D. Our fourth finger is going to be the E flat, which is half step above D, right? And then if we keep on going, D, and then C will be with our first finger. And then here, what I do is D with the third finger, and then when we cross over to the D string to play the G, I slide down half step to get into our normal first position. Like that. Right? And then from here, it's pretty straightforward. And then extension here. We're going to be extending back because it's E flat. extension, like that. Let's write ourselves some notes. Oh, sorry. That's confusing. I'm going to draw a flat at the top just to remind ourselves that it's a flat, right? So if we go slowly, it goes like this. Back to first position, and then we stay there and then do an extension back for that E flat. Extension. Alright, so I think for until there is pretty straightforward. If you know your extensions, just remember that it's the first position extension backwards. And then, yeah, let's keep on going. So after the second half of the yellow phrase, we're going to be going into third position. So third position is when we put our where that G is, where that fourth finger of first position is. Remember, you can tune with the open string below. That's where we put our first finger. That's where the third position is going to be. So the reason why we do this is because we have to play A flat. And this position also allows us to play B flat. So find that first. Let's just practice that position. So you find your first finger with the G. So here G is first finger, A flat will be our second finger, A natural is going to be with the third finger. That's usually how I like to tune. Third finger on the A. Over here you can tune with the note, the open string above, right? So you have open string below and open string above that you can tune, right? And then from there, fourth finger is B flat. If you play with the open G string, it makes a minor sound. So, but in this case, we're going to be using 1, 2, and 4, right? Because it's G, A flat, and B flat. So, if you want to just practice that position, get used to the how it feels. You can just repeat those three fingers, three notes, in whatever pattern you want to do. Right? Just make up a different pattern for it. Just get used to the position there. So, here, we're going to go up, up. So let's just play that second half of the yellow section. So, up, third position, right? First finger, and then A flat, B flat, and then here what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the 1.5 position, right? Third finger. So like this. Third to the G, you can tune with the open string. And then here, we just go to first position, but we have to go into an extended position in order to do this. The last measure, right? So, practice this. There are 3 different positions in this section, right? So, first position is the G, A flat, and B flat. Second position that you need to work on is the 1.5 position, the F natural, G natural, and A flat. And then the last one would be the open extended position starting from E flats. When you're doing extension, remember to relax your thumb. I'll talk more about some tips and tricks for techniques at the end. First, let's learn all the notes, right? So, going from the last measure of first line, so start down bow. So G, once again, you can find that G third finger with your first finger, or third finger with the open string below. And then you're gonna do a half step shift. So that's a difficult part. So that's a little bit tricky. I'm going to circle it. So here we got a shift, here we got a shift, and here we got a shift. So those are the important sections that I want you guys to focus. So let's start once again the second half of the line. So starting from the G third position, A flat, right? A flat, and then go shift to here it says second position. Go to the third finger, right? And then down to second finger, first position, and then extension. Then we're gonna do a lift, retake the bow there. It's not written, but let's write it out. Oh, yeah. All right. Really good. So now that you know more or less how to do it, let's try to do the entire yellow phrase, right? So find the second position. I guess this is second position. So third finger on that D, and then we're gonna go up half step with our fourth finger. So that's our E flat, right? Let's go very slowly. 1 and 2 and 3 and shift, extension, extend, and then shift to the same note, first finger, A flat, shift to G, F, extension, keep it extended. All right, really good. All right, now let's take a look at the next line. Let's color it orange because it's kind of similar. So if you take a look at the first orange section, it is actually the same as the yellow phrase. So let me just write the fingerings down for it. And then we can play through it. And then see how it's different in the second half. So, same thing as the yellow phrase. So we end on the open D down bow. So as we do the bow lift, we're going to also find that E flat once again. So it's only a half step shift down, right? So half step shift. Extend. Really good. Now, from here, it gets very, very different. Let's just take a listen to how it goes. Very different, right? So, let's take a look at what we're doing here. So, same thing, we're going to go play with up bow, but we're going to stay on the fourth finger. Instead of switching to first finger, we're going to stay on the same position, and then next measure here, we're going to shift down to fourth position, right? So fourth position, if you remember from previous lessons, is first finger that well, first of all, the reference I like to have is that your thumb is here on the curve, and then your first finger is going to play the string above. So A on the D string, your first finger in fourth position should be A. So you can kind of gliss up until you hit A, and you can tune it there. So that's the position that you want to be. If we just review the notes there for a second. So first finger will be A. Second finger will be B flat. So that's the note we want. Third finger will be B natural. And fourth finger here will be C natural. So another way you can tune this position is just play with the open string above. At the same time, right? It kind of helps you train the angle of the hand and fingers to not touch the A string, open A string. But you can just play it like this on the D string only. So let's just, same thing. So let's just play A, B flat, and C. Just get familiar with that note, those notes, and that position. Right? So if we take a look, here actually let's do this. Instead of doing an extension, something more precise, we'll be shifting down to second finger, excuse me. So like that. So we're gonna go back to the third position. So remember that you have to land first tune the first finger with the open G. Maybe you can practice like that. Just to get used to the motion between those two notes, and then go backwards, right? I'm glissing right now, just to help you show that the motion shouldn't be jerky or anxious. Try and relax. Also, try to shift at the same time with the bow change. I sometimes hear my students do shifting before the bow change, like that, and it kind of just sounds weird, and also it it's prone to develop bad habits. So try not to do that. Try to change the position of your left hand with the bow change as well, right? So if we take a look at the second half, shift, and then we're gonna shift here to first position. So let's talk about those real quick. So I'm gonna paint over there, I'm gonna paint over here. Alright, so I already explained that one, and then here, I think we've talked about it in previous lessons. As you shift, you're gonna kind of snap your fourth finger like that. Like that. So as you get into position, you're gonna snap your hand, kind of do a doorknob swing like this. Like that. I don't know. If you do it fast enough, you're gonna notice that you're not gonna hear the shift. Like that. As you shift, you're gonna be putting the fourth finger down. And if you land the fourth finger early, don't worry about it. You can always tune, right? You can always gliss into the note. So don't worry about it. That's the correct way of doing it. And the more you get used to it, the less gliss you're going to be doing naturally. So that's the second half of the orange phrase, right? So let's go review it once more time. So starting from with the up bow, upbeat, we're gonna shift all the way down to fourth position, like that. Shift, third position, and then first position. That section is a little bit tricky, so take your time with it. And if you don't get it the first day, it's okay. Just take your time. It's a little bit tricky. You're shifting a lot. And if you have any questions, feel free to write it down. You know how to do it. Measure numbers and the problem, right? And let's just take a look at the orange section all together. And we'll go slowly, all right? So 1, 2, 3, orange section. And here to fourth position, shift, shift. Alright, how did it go? I hope you're not having too difficult time of it. Just practice it slowly like how we're doing, and just play it until you feel comfortable. I highly recommend practicing enough that you can play it memorized without looking at the music, and kind of just observe what your hands are doing, right? Alright, so I think it's a good time to actually play these two phrases together, the yellow and orange. So let's do that. And I'm going to play it a little bit faster. But if you can't keep it up right now, you can always just slow it down. Take your time, learn it at your own pace, your own speed. It's not a race to see who can finish it. It's not a speed run, right? So, alright. Starting from the top of the page, yellow and orange phrases, okay? So, I'm finding the open D. and the D, third finger, right? Ready? 1 and 2 and go. Extension. Shift to third position. Third finger. Extended. Stay extended. Find the position. Lift. Stay in position and shift. Fourth position. First. And E flat. Alright. That section is pretty straightforward. I think it's a very good piece to practice your shifting. Just remember all the positions you can tune with the open strings. You know, so try to get used to that. And let's move on. Let's go on to the next section. So, next phrase, let's do blue. Alright. So, blue section goes till here. And let's go until here for now. Alright, so if we take a look at the first half of the phrase, blue phrase, mind you, we're going to start with first position, and here we do get a natural, right? Which is going to be played with an open A, so fear not, no shifting here, except the second measure. So let's read through it. It's a G and then E flat, so we're gonna go extend our first finger back, right? Open A, and then B flat, stay extended, and we're going to play B flat. And then here, we're gonna shift to that C natural, right? You can tune with the open D string as well. And then your fourth finger is right there for that E flat, right? You're right there for everything, and then we're gonna shift down here. Da, 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 dum. So, let's start from the beginning of the phrase once again. So it's G, extension back, open A, it's better, but stay extended, shift, and here we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna snap back to first position. And then we're gonna play those as an extended position, right? B flat extended. And let's write a reminder bowing here because it's kind of confusing. Alright, so let's try that once more. 1 and 2 and 3. G, extension, Open it, extend it, and shift down. Relax, E flat, and then go back to first position. Yeah, there you go. So that's it. Now let's continue on. Oops. So this part's pretty straightforward. Alright, so let's go from the second half of the blue phrase, right? So we're gonna go with B flat, second finger on G string, first position, right? So you can find it like that. So G, A, first finger, and then second finger, B flat. If you play it with open D string above, it makes that interval. So you can kind of find the second finger that way. And also just make a mental note that it's a B flat. So D, and then here same thing. We're gonna play E flat and then shift to F, natural, like that, right? So it's just 1-1. So here B flat and E flat is just a fifth, so I just bar my first fingers there. Alright, so the second half isn't too bad, it's just a scale. And then we just shift here. And that's it, I believe. Here, measure 70. You can do the fingering that's there. But for me, I think it's good if you just stay as relaxed as possible. So you can do 3-1 or 4-2, however you like, but that's up to you. Alright, so let's now try and play the blue section all together. Alright, 1, 2, and 3. Shift and stay in position. Then shift. Shift. Half position. Alright, really good. So that's the blue phrase. I would say the blue phrase is intermediate. It's not too easy, but it's not too difficult. But you do need to spend some time with it. So let's keep on going. Let's look at the last minor section phrase, which is, I'm gonna put purple. Alright. Just straight off the bat, I'm going to circle this section. Because that's this measure is very difficult. The fingering I use is the one on the bottom, so let's keep it. I do 3, 3. Alright, this is what I do. This will be 3, 3, 2, 1, and then 4, 1, how it's written. Okay, so let's take a look at the first purple phrase. It's kind of difficult, but I think you'll get it. So now we're going to be in the second position on the G string. So how to find that? C with the third finger, as usual, you guessed it, with the open string below, which will be the C string. So here it's C, and then fifth right across the string, G, F, and then A flat. You're in the same position. So until there's pretty easy, right? And then this next measure is where it gets a little bit ugly. So first, let me show you how it's done. So once more. Alright, so let's take a look at how I'm thinking about that. So, I'm really thinking about it instead of 6 different notes, I'm thinking about it in 3 intervals. So, double stops is what we call them when you play two notes, 2 strings at the same time. Double stops. So, how I practice it, and this is kind of difficult if you haven't done this before. So if you just play the notes, how I group them together. That's fine. If you can also play them at the same time. You can tune it more precisely that way. So that's how I would recommend. So the first group is G and C and G, like that. C, G. So get used to that. And then the second group is B natural and F natural. So if we stay in position from C, we just drop to second finger. That's our B natural, right? And then on the D string, G to F natural will be third finger to first finger, right? So you're going to play that sound. For you theory nerds, it'll be a tritone. So and then the last group will be fourth finger on C and then E flat. So it's gonna be a minor third for you interval music theory nerds. And it'll be an extension. This position's a little bit tough because you have to keep your C, fourth finger C in tune. And then extend back all the way to E flat. It's one of the biggest extension stretches. So if you want to hop there, that's okay. But the idea is you're grouping it in those 3 groups, right? So that's what you need to be able to do. And then once you're able to do that, or before you're able to do that, you can always play them notes separately. Don't do the bowings just play them separately. So once you're able to do that, I would just get used to the left hands first, right? And then after doing that, get used to playing double stops if you can. If not, directly to slurs, I guess. So that measure is pretty difficult, so I highly recommend you spend a little bit more time on it. And then if we continue on, it's pretty straightforward. Starting from G, A natural, B natural, E flat, F natural, one E and a, two E and a, three E and a, like that. So extension, one E and a, two and three and. So the second half of the purple section isn't difficult, but the first half is. So especially that the measure that I circled, that measure gives everybody trouble. So take your time with it. Don't be frustrated. Just learn the notes first and the fingerings. Try to relax your thumb. Don't be squeezing the neck. Like, don't be doing that. Don't squeeze the neck. Try to, if anything, try to pull the strings into your chest, right? And you can have your thumb free. Another thing is when you play that C and E flat, raise your elbow, and that's gonna also help you reach that C and E comfortably. Alright, so let's try and play that purple phrase all together. I'll play it slowly so you can take a look at it, okay? Take a look at how I'm doing things. Alright, purple phrase. 1 and 2 and go. C, A flat. So that's how the purple phrase sounds. So I would say the blue and purple phrase is the more difficult section of this entire piece. So take your time learning it, break it into sections how we did, and just focus on the parts that you're having difficult time with. It's not going to be something exclusive to you. Everyone's going to have difficult times with it. I had difficult time with it. But this is the way I know that you can get over those slumps as fast as possible. So let's just try and play blue and purple phrase together. And then we're going to play this whole minor section once. And then, yeah, and then I think that'll be end of the class today. Okay? Alright. So yeah, from blue section. Alright. 1, 2, and 3. Blue. Shift. Snap back. Shift. Half position. 2. ready? Alright, so that's the second half of the piece, of the minor section, excuse me. So now that we learned the notes, I'm going to play through the minor section once, all the way through. But quickly, I want to make some notes. Some tips that will help you get better sound and also just have a easier time learning. So focus on positions. First, second, third, fourth. That'll be the main goal of this section, is just being familiar with all the different positions, especially all the flat notes on positions and flat notes. Flat notes. Flatted notes. Not flat notes. Flat, yeah. Tune with open strings. I'm sure you've heard me say that plenty of times in this lesson, in this stream. What else? Raise left elbow to reach lower strings. So what I mean by that is, so especially on the G string, right? G string and extensions, reach lower strings and extensions. So when you play on the lower strings, if you can see here naturally how when I raise my elbow, the hand automatically goes over to the lower strings, right? And when I lower it, the fingers want to kind of scratch over like that. So that's the idea of raising your elbow, your left elbow, to reach lower strings. And also when you're slightly higher, it seemed, for me at least, it's a little bit easier to reach back with the first finger, and not tilt like this. So try to do that. Try not to have a crook in the wrist though. Try and keep it flat as possible. And that's gonna be really the key. Those are things that's gonna take time to get used to. It's habit building in your posture, right? So those are the main tips I wanted to talk about, especially in the left hand. Left hand, just utilize all the tips I talked about in finding the positions, finding the notes in the different positions, and tuning in, and you should be fine. Alright, so let's now try and play the whole entire minor section, and then let's finish out the class with the entire piece. Alright, from the minor section. Alright, 1, 2, 3, ready, set, and extension, third position, shift, extension, 2, lift, and shift all the way down, shift, shift, 2, 2, lift. 2 and 3. And then we would go back to the first section, right? Here it's written out, so that's what we need to worry about. There is the key change back into C major. We're gonna natural all the flats, so we're gonna be back in C major there. All right, so we finally talked about the second half of this piece. So you've officially completed learning this piece. We started it in book 2, which was the first page, right? And then now you learn the second half, the minor section. And there are definitely a lot of things that we can still talk about. But right now, not enough time, unfortunately. So let's just play through the piece with the accompaniment once more, and then we'll call it a day, okay? And I'll leave the sheet music up like this so you can follow along. If I miss any notes because of the page turn, excuse me. I'm working on getting a page turner. So yeah, let's take a listen. be it for today. I hope this lesson helped in learning this piece, helped you in learning this piece, and I hope I gave some good tips. This piece is a lot harder than it sounds, so take your time learning it. And next week we'll be taking a look at, let's see, humoresque. So stay tuned. I'm gonna try to do this every week, but sometimes my work gets busy, so sometimes I don't do it. But let's keep on doing this. I'll keep on doing this. I hope you guys are enjoying this and it's helpful. So yeah, thanks for tuning in and happy practicing. Bye.